What's going on, family? What's going on? This is Chief Kalanago with another video. This one is going to be quick. All right. I just want to break something down for y'all. So I'm gonna give you guys a quick second to tune into this live real quick. Let me all right. So check this out. Okay. Well, first off, first things first. Let me acknowledge the great spirit, universal intelligence, the great I am acknowledgement. All right. Let me acknowledge my ancestors, giving thanks to my ancestors, thanking them for guidance and protection, knowing that they're always with me. They have never left me. I am them and they are me. All right. I am their ancestor. All right. We have to be mindful with the words that we use. We are not descendants of the people who came before us. We are ascendants because we are ascending. All right. So whenever you say, remember, in the beginning was the word, and words have power. And the words that you use is exactly what it is. So when a lot of times things are happening to people in their lives, even as a collective, they don't realize that they're casting collective spells. You feel me? Typical example, being black, that's a collective spell. You feel me? So when you say that you are a descendant, that means you are descending. All right. But we didn't descend. All right. At one point, yes, we descended into this realm. But now we are in this process of ascending from whence we came. So therefore, we are the ascendants of our ancestors and not descendants. Okay. So just so you know, we are them plus us. So that makes us greater than them. You feel me? The only problem is we haven't tapped into our greatness because we have been dumbed down. Okay. The people have been dumbed down through the education, through music, through religion. So we have a lot of work to do. And that's why I'm on a mission, a nonstop mission to bring that knowledge. Okay. So with that being said, like I told you before, those natives piss me off, what I'm saying, by coming into my inbox, literally 18 different individuals coming at me. That's why I had to do that video earlier to shut everybody down. Let me give you another key thing that I always hear about generations. Okay. Well, we have been here for 10 generations, 20 generations. Family. Well, I hear 7 or 10 generations all the time. Now, let me explain to you what a generation is. A lot of people think a generation is 100 years. Okay. No, 100 is a century. Okay. You will never hear anybody say, well, speak of them being in our land for centuries. You will never hear that because that's a fallacy. Okay. That's a fallacy. However, you will hear the word generation all the time. All right. We have been here for generations. The question is, what do you mean? How long is the generation? And that's a question that cannot be answered truthfully. So you will hear stuff like 10 generations. So let me break down what a generation is to you. A generation is not 100 years. Okay. So let me share my screen. Because like I said, I like to cover all bases. So when anybody come at me with the BS, I'm a wordsmith, you know what I mean? So I like to break words down and trap people with their own lies. Okay, so let me share my screen real quick. And I'm just giving y'all little tips and tricks, man, you know what I mean, that people use, to take us off our game. All right. But you need to learn those skills. All right. Learn those skills. So here we are. This is a generation. How long is a generation, right? We often reckon the passage of time by generations, but just how long is a generation? As a matter of common knowledge, well, it should be common knowledge, but a lot of people don't know that, so it's not common. But as a matter, it should have been common knowledge. All right. We know that a generation is about 25 years. All right. So family, a generation is on average 25 years. All right. And I'm talking about just, in more recent times, even further back in antiquity, a generation was actually 20 years in earlier times. So when you hear people talking about, oh, we've been here for 10 generations and this and that, and 20 generations, that's only about 400 years, family. So we're still going back to the time you're telling us that we came here on slave ships. So You see, you have to put two and two together. When you know what words mean and you know the context that it's being used in, you see, you get tricked because you don't know. And my job is to educate you, is to bring the knowledge to you so you're able to stand firm, all right, when you present, your argument. All right. Now, there is nothing wrong with argument because all the etymology of argument is to pretty much discuss, to come up with a resolution. All right. That's an argument. A debate now, it means to beat up. I don't get into debates because I don't want nobody beating me up and I don't want to beat nobody up. So I don't debate. All right. So let us read that again. As a matter of common knowledge, we know that a generation averages about 25 years from the birth of a parent to the birth of a child. All right. It's from the birth of a parent to the birth of a child. That's considered a generation. All right. Now, although it varies by case, we also generally accept that the length of a generation was closer to 20 years. Okay. In earlier times when humans made it younger and life expectancy was shorter. All right. Now we are not talking about in in ancient times when people live longer because they ate better. Okay, there was more atmospheric oxygen, so people live better. Okay, people grow taller. All right, but we're not talking about those times. We're talking about in earlier recent times, if that makes sense. All right. So in genealogy, the length of a generation is used principally as a check on the credibility of evidence. Too long as span between parent and child, especially in a maternal line, has been reason to go back and take a more careful look at whether the evidence found reflects reality or whether a generation has been omitted or data for two different individuals has been attributed to the same. For that purpose, the 20 to 25 years averages have worked quite acceptably. Birth dates too far out of the line with average are properly a suspect. All right. So basically, once again, when you're looking at people telling you about generations, be mindful with that. Okay, be mindful with that. Okay, let me what I want to do also, well, you know what, let me read up just a little more real quick. All right, several recent studies show that male line generations from father to son are longer on average than female line generations from mother to daughter. They show too that both are longer than 25 years in interval that conventional wisdom has assigned a generation. The male generation is at least a third longer. The female generation is about half, 1/6 longer. All right. So now you know what a generation is. Let us go to a online calculator right now. Okay, because numbers don't lie. Let us go to an online calculator. Give me a second. Let me share my screen here. And a lot of you may or may not see this information relevant and pertinent, but it is because when people are lying to you, you have to know how to combat the lies. Okay, even before you get into all that. Well, we've been here for generations. Well, how many years have your people been here? Okay, and we know it's not a thousands of years because they have to prove it. All right, they have to prove it. Once again, put the burden of proof on the accuser. You see, they just woke up a sleeping giant. I took a break from all that, but now the heat is on. And I'm not talking about Miami Heat. I'm talking about Chief Kalanago Heat. Don't play with me. All right. I respect everybody. All right. But once you start crossing the line, then I'm gonna come. You feel me? And that's just what real Indians do. Okay. And American Indians at that. Okay. Now, let's look at this online calculator. So if we know that on average between 20 and 25 years is a generation, okay, we're gonna give the benefit of the doubt. 25. Okay. So 25, we're looking at 25, that's equivalent to one generation. All right. That is equivalent to 1 generation. All right. So if somebody say, hold on for a second. If someone says, hey, my family have been here, okay, for let's just say 100 generation. Okay. That's pretty much when you look at another 100 generation, well, 25 years equals 1 generation. So if somebody say, well, my family have been here for 200 years, okay, what you would have to do is you would have to divide 25. So you would have to divide 200, okay, divided by 25. Okay, give me 1 second. I don't want to confuse myself and I don't want to confuse y'all. Okay, so 1 generation is 25 years. All right. So if we say 10 generations, that's it, 10 generations. If somebody say my family have been here for 10 generations, 10 times 25 is 250 years. Okay. So if somebody say, well, my family have been here for 20 generations, that's 20 times 25. Okay. So let us go for 10 generations. So we have 25 times 10. 25 times 10 equals 250. All right, 250. Keep that in mind. Pay attention to what I'm doing here now. So that's 10 generations. If we say 20 generations, that would be about 500. All right, so let us give the benefit of the doubt. 25 times 20, all right, that equals to 500. So we have 500. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to do 20, 21, and we are going to go with the higher number. All right. 2021 minus 500. Minus 500. Hold on. Equals, okay, we're looking at 1551. So we are still within the realm of colonization. So once again, don't get tricked. But I guarantee you it is not that long. It is more about 10 to 15 generations, but I'm just giving 20 as a high number, okay? As a high number, because in 1521, the Cherokee Nation wasn't alive, okay? In 1551, Cherokee Nation wasn't alive, okay? We still had the Anionwea people who were the principal people, all right? So it's definitely not 20 generations. So that's giving too much credit. So let's look at 15 generations or 10. I'm gonna say 15. All right. So we say 15 generations. Okay. That is 15. That is 15. All right. How did I? So give me a second. So we would say about 10 would be 250, and 5 would be another 125. So we're looking at 375 years. So we have 2021 minus 375. 375 equals 1646. Okay. All that's still within the realm of colonization. The point I'm making is this. When people start telling you that their family have been here for generations, know exactly what that means. A generation is not 100 years. A generation is only about 20 to 25 years. And even back then, it was about 20. But now I'm saying 25. Okay? So I just wanted to drop that bit of information for you guys, because you have to be on point with the information that, to rebuttal, just in case you want to get into, into an argument with somebody, which is fine. You are able to show facts and use conductive reasoning to debunk what people are saying. All right. So earlier I did a video showing you guys, talking to you guys about tracing your ancestry. All right. A lot of people, inbox me, hey, Chief, thank you. You guys are absolutely welcome. And once again, family, the goal here is not to disrespect anybody, because we are not doing that. But when you come with the disrespect, now I have to expose you. All right. So now I'm on a mission to take it to even another level, because like I said, I'm creating an organization. All right. And I'm already talking to brothers and sisters I feel that I feel their vibe, I feel their spirit. You see, because I move more in the spirit. All right. People could talk all the time, but I have to see you beyond the flesh. Okay. So I'm creating an organization, and I'm going to be looking for brothers and sisters in different states, even different parts of the Americas, okay, to represent different chapters. Okay. Kind of like similar to, what the Moors, our cousins, did with the Moorish temple. That's a great thing they did for their people. You see, I respect that. You see what I'm saying? Something similar to what Al Sharpton got, but Al Sharpton is doing it for black people. You see what I'm saying? But that is not helping us because we ain't black. You feel me? So we have to create something for ourselves so that we're able to stand together as a unit. All right. So I'm working on that right now. And like I said, I'm looking at people, I'm looking at their pages, I'm looking at their posts. I see how they're dealing with people. I definitely want to deal with people with integrity. That's a big factor for me. Integrity and trust. Okay? And respect. You have to have those qualities within yourself. All right. So that's where I'm at with that. So I just wanted to kind of come and drop that information for you guys, man, because it's just so much to learn. I'm going to be talking to you guys about everything from taxes. Okay. A lot of people are complaining about paying taxes. Well, guess what? If you knew that you were actually in a commercial entity and not a nation or a country, then you wouldn't be paying all the taxes that you pay. But you see, you perish for the lack of knowledge. Instead of trying to avoid paying taxes, why don't you find out how the system could work for you? Because the truth of the matter is the system is set up as a commercial system. It's a business. And it was set up perfectly for a business. But a lot of people don't realize that it's a business and they are living in a business. So you have to differentiate yourself and learn what the business is and learn how to operate in the business. You feel me? So knowing the tax laws, a lot of people are afraid of the IRS. The IRS is actually your friend, believe it or not. You see, the IRS have two different components. There's the IRS and the Internal Revenue Services. They're two different branches. Okay, one deals with the accounting and one deals with the finance. Okay, so they're just here to keep books. They're just accountants. It's a business, family. It's a business. So you have to learn how to operate in the business. And I'm not talking about no sovereign citizen stuff. I'm not a sovereign citizen. Okay, I'm talking about knowing the code, the laws. And you don't even have to get into all these UCC codes. You don't have to do all that, learn all that stuff. Basic knowledge of knowing the tax deductions, okay, when they apply. And I teach people that all the time. All right, so I'm going to break these things down for you. Like your children, for instance, if you have children from the age of 6, between 6 and 18, you could have your children as your employees, pay them up to $12,000 a year and get that back as a tax deduction. You see, we perish for the lack of knowledge. And you have over 475 tax deductions that you have access to, but not as an employee. And that's why when I took the time to teach you guys about financial literacy, I was so disappointed that a lot of you wasn't even knocking down my door and literally stalking me. And I don't want anybody to stalk me, but the point I'm making is when I was teaching that stuff, I was disappointed that you guys wasn't so anxious to learn that. You feel me? So with that being said, I'm still doing that. You feel me? But the Spirit called me back to just get back into teaching about the culture, who we are, you know what I'm saying? And putting some things in perspective because I'm about to take this to a whole different level. That's why I took my time on Facebook and showed everybody all the countries, or at least 98% of the countries in the Americas. That's why I took my time and showed everybody on my Facebook, all right, all the tribes for the most part that was in the United States, okay, and in the Americas before colonization. So at least, even if you don't know exactly where or what clan or tribe you came from, if you could pinpoint where your great grandmother grew up or great grandfather, then most likely you have that you were part of that clan or that tribe. You see, I'm putting in work for y'all, and I'm not asking anybody to pay me for this. All I just want you guys to do is learn the information. Just learn it, learn the information. And people always say knowledge is power. But I always take that a step further and say, yes, knowledge is power to a certain extent. However, the true power comes from the application, the implementation of the knowledge. Okay? You could know how to ride a bike in your mind. If you haven't gotten on a bike and actually rode, then you don't know how to ride. You feel me? You have to get on and apply the information. A lot of people are talking about, oh, well, they taught about licenses and all that. Well, don't apply for it. You see, it's options. Those things are optional. Those things are contracts. So all those things I'm going to be bringing to you guys and teaching you guys when it comes to, stuff like that, though. Certain things I may have to do in a private setting. So I will probably invite you guys to a Zoom. Okay? Because you know how it is. When you start teaching certain things, then you open up yourself, to unnecessary attention. All right. So that I may do in a private setting. Okay. It depends on how I feel. I'll have to meditate on that. Okay. But just know that people, not just our people, but people on a whole, they perish for the lack of knowledge. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm definitely got to bring a lot of information to you guys. All right. Don't complain about the situation. Learn what the situation is and work around the situation. Be like water. Okay. You see, water, don't matter where you put water, it will occupy the space. You feel me? We know that the United States is a corporation. We know that. So nobody could force you to be part of a corporation. That goes against every human right. But you were coerced into that because your rights as a man or a woman was taken. It was diminished by you accepting, colorful terms. So now you are being governed by what's called color of law. And even so, you still cannot be abused even if you are being governed by color of law. All right. There are penalties for that for the people who trespass against your person. All right. So even within their own statutes, there is a difference between a person. Okay. So when you start talking those things, they all go, oh, well, you sound like a sovereign citizen. No, it's not sovereign citizen. It is the codes of the United States, of the corporation. But they want you to think that you're doing something wrong when you stand up for your right. But I'm going to remind you guys, even if you don't know exactly what tribe or clan you come from, I promise you, take away all the titles. When you came here from your mother, okay, what did you come into this world as? A son or a daughter, and you grew into a man or a woman. All right. There is no higher authority on this physical earth than a man, woman, and child. And when I say child, I'm going to rephrase that and speak it, from a lawful perspective, son or daughter. Because when you start using child, then you start speaking legalese. All right. And in their contracts, they have power over your children, but not over your sons and daughters. You see, everything is about the language, the word. Okay. They have power over a person, a legal person, but they don't have power over the man or the woman. You see where I'm going with this, family? And this is actually the law. I promise you, nowhere in any code or any code or statute, you will see man or woman. I want anybody to prove me wrong. You will not see that. However, you will constantly see person. You will constantly see that. And you will not see people either. The only playtime you'll see people is in the Constitution, because the people created the Constitution to keep the corporation in check. The Constitution wasn't for us. It was created for us to keep them in check so they don't violate our rights. But people have lost their way. So you went from a natural person, which is actually in law, you are a natural person, from going to just a legal person. So the system is not the problem. Your skin is not the problem. It's your mindset that's the problem. Your education, that's the problem. So that's why I tell people, no disrespect to people who got their PhDs and their degrees and all that. That stuff don't really impress me. You see what I'm saying? Because smart people are painful people. They're in pain. Go look at the etymology of smart. Educated people are smart people. You feel me? So, and I'm not coming at anybody. I'm just telling you how I feel. Because that's the handicap, is the education. Okay? I'm a man of wisdom. There's a difference. Wisdom. And I ask, because you know what? Intelligence. Because I came from intelligence. So if I came from intelligence, therefore, I'm intelligent. But you have to release these curses. So here you go, real quick. Okay. Point that out right here. Am I sharing my screen? I think I am. Yes. Right here. So this is a smart person. All right. Someone who's smart. This is the etymology of smart. Okay. Be painful. All right. That's it. To pain, originally to bite. Pain, which is perhaps an extension of the root to rob away. So that's what smart really means. And somebody asked me earlier, well, Chief, isn't it, you know, the intent when you say something to somebody? Well, it's the intent was already planted. The seed was already planted. That's what people have to realize. Okay. When these words were created, they were created, you know, from a ritualistic perspective, whether you believe it or not. Okay. A lot of energy and time was taken to create the English language, because it's a language to dumbify people. All right. You have to keep that in mind. So therefore, the energy it was created with, that seed was already planted. Typical example. If you go into your backyard, all right, and you plant a mango seed, that is what was planted. That's the energy that was put into the ground, into the soil. That was the original intent. I don't care if later you change your mind and say, you know what? I don't want mangoes. Do me a favor, mango seed. Give me oranges instead. That's not going to work. That's not how nature works. That's not how the universe works. You see, the universe don't know the difference between right and wrong. Okay? I mean, I told you guys I wasn't going to be on here for long, but you know me, when I start, I can't stop, right? But the point I'm making is this. The universe cannot tell the difference between right and wrong. I'm going to repeat that. The universe cannot differentiate between right and wrong. However, right and wrong came from the universe, but the universe cannot perceive it. That's why we created ourselves outside of ourselves to perceive the things we couldn't perceive within ourselves. Now, I hope that didn't go over your heads. Okay? So what I'm saying is this. Be mindful with the words that you speak, family. That's why whenever you go into court, in fact, even before you go to court, when a policy enforcer stops you and you are being detained, and it comes to the point where you are being arrested, all right, or in certain cases kidnapped, They have to read you your rights. Okay? You have the right to remain silent. Why? Because anything you say, you cannot take it back. You see, they are using spiritual universal laws, okay, and manipulating it into a legal system to take away your rights. So when they tell you, shut up, shut up. Don't say anything, I promise you. Because it will be used against you. So it's just like the universe. When you put something out there, you cannot take it back. You cannot take it back. It's gone. It's released because it's two different realms. It's released into the mental realm. It's gone. So therefore, that seed is planted. It's going to harm somebody, or it's going to give somebody death, or it's going to give somebody life. That's why it says what? There's life and death in the power of the tongue. You could give people life, or you could give them death. That's why people who hurt me intentionally, I don't forgive. Because that's the law of the universe. See, I'm not talking religion right now. Even in the Old Testament, again, allegorical book, all right? And go look up the meaning of allegorical if you don't know what it means, meaning that it wasn't literal, okay? In the allegorical book, the God in the Bible said what? An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But no, they had to give you the new version to say turn the other cheek. That goes against universal laws. The smallest animal in nature will defend itself. They don't turn the cheek. They defend themselves until they can't, and then they run away. But they get to fight another day, like Bob Marley said. That's why I don't forgive people who hurt me intentionally. Now, there could be involuntary or emotions that are spoken, at a certain time. All right, depends on what's going on, and certain things could have been said, yes, and that could hurt my feelings, but I get that. That's something different. You see what I'm saying? But when people, and just like in law, when you sit around and you conspire to hurt somebody, you get more of a penalty than when it happened, involuntarily, meaning that it was a natural reaction to something that was done to you. You feel me? It's the same thing. The universe doesn't forgive. Well, Chief, what are you talking about? It don't forgive. And I'll explain that to you. When there's a hurricane, okay? The hurricane take babies. The hurricane take elders. Let me ask you a question. What did that baby do? What did that baby do to deserve that? Nothing whatsoever. So the universe, basically the universe and what it gives off, it doesn't forgive. Once you're in its way, you will pay the wrath. It is really that simple. So where do we get to learn the habit of forgiving people who sat around and hurt us intentionally? What are you doing? This is what you're doing. Let me tell you what you're doing. And I know that might sound crazy to a lot of you really religious people, but let me break down the universal laws for you. All right? There's something called karma. Okay? And karma is real. Karma is your judgment. There is no sky daddy sitting around. You create your own judgment. And how are you judged? You are judged by the fruits that you bear. You are judged by what you put out there in the universe. That's what the universe is going to give you. So in other words, you are your own judge. You are your own God. And you're judging yourself based on your actions. So this is what happens. When someone hurts you intentionally and you forgive them, guess what you're doing? You are playing God. And you are forgiving them of their burden, the karma that they're supposed to deal with. Do y'all see the difference? I'm going to repeat myself. Why do you think you had to get the new version to tell you turn the other cheek? Why? Because when anything that's done to you to violate your right, You are taught to forgive. In other words, they don't deserve the karma. So once you release somebody of that karma, they are not responsible or liable for hurting you. Family, all this is contract law. And contract law is spiritual. We all came here on contracts. I heard somebody on Facebook earlier talking about children. Well, let me tell y'all something. And I've said it before. Okay? You didn't make your children. You didn't choose your children. Your children chose you. All we are just vehicles that our children use to come to have their own experience. That's all we are. Okay? Your children, your sons and daughters, they were the ones who set everything up. That contract was already written millions of years ago. Okay? Believe that. So don't think your children look like you. No, you look like them. They chose that. Okay? They chose everything. What is vice versa? You look like them, they look like you. The point is, they knew what nose they wanted. Okay? They knew what fingers they wanted. They know what they wanted their ears and eyes to look like. They know what part of the daddy they wanted. They know what part of the mama they wanted. Okay? You didn't give it to them. They chose those characteristics of you. So y'all gotta peep the game when it comes to these contracts and these contracts laws. Is more than just physical, it's spiritual. That's why the pen is mightier than the sword, because that's spiritual. That's the word becoming flesh. You could change your life just by the stroke of a pen, your signature, giving away your nature. And like I told y'all before, autograph, the element of gold, AU in autograph, you are signing your name in gold, the currency of the gods. So all these things are just knowledge, information that we have to be mindful how we speak, our thoughts when we speak, and how we deal with people. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But when people intentionally hurt you, I cannot tell you what to do. But me personally, I don't forgive. Why? Because I am taking away your karma. I am playing your God, and I am nobody's God. You feel me? You are your own God. So that means whatever seed that you plant, I'm going to allow you to reap what you sow. I'm not going to take that burden away from you. No, that is not my burden to carry. That's not my cross to carry. Why you think the allegorical Jesus, when the disciples took his cross, he said, what? Give it back to me. Nah, I got to pay the price. That means that he want to carry his own karma. He got to pay for that. This thing is a whole lot deeper than what we think it is. And that's why I always use the Bible, because I know what it means. I'm able to break it down. Well, how did I go from generation to talking about that? But like I said, I get carried away sometimes, guys. So I hope you don't mind. All right. But anyway, I'm about to wrap this up. I've been on here for over half an hour right now. Just to kind of recap things, at least you know now what a generation is. So you're able to have better arguments. Okay. And like I said, I will be coming to you guys and bringing some more information, breaking down, about business. Okay. I will be talking to you guys about that, how you could, open up yourself to the 475 tax deductions to bring more money into your home and have less money go out. So I'm going to be talking to you guys about that. All right. I'll also be talking to you guys about, just you are giving a, when anytime you apply for a license or you do applications, stuff like that. All right. Those are contracts that you're getting into. And more than 90% of the times, those contracts they're unilateral. It is one-sided. You feel me? So instead of complaining, learn the information. All right. Stop complaining about it and think that the system got something against you because of the color of your skin. I have to keep reiterating that. It is not the color of your skin. It is the color of your mind. You see what I'm saying? It's the state of your mind. That's your biggest enemy. Okay. And until you realize that, things will continue to be the same. And that's just facts. So in other words, you are your biggest enemy. Stop being your enemy. Be your best friend for a change and renew your mind. That's how you grow, by renewing your mind. If something it hasn't been working for you for how many years? Why would you think it's going to continue to work for the next 200, 300, 400 years when it didn't work for the past 300, 400, 500 years? I mean, you got to be crazy. That's called insanity. Okay? Doing the same things over and over and over and over again and expecting a different result. I'm going to tell you a quick story before I get out of here that I consider a wise woman. Okay? She told me a story, and I'm going to paraphrase. I may not say it the exact way she told me, but I'm going to say it, in the best way I could articulate. Okay? She said that a man, he had a dog, right? He loved his dog, mind you. Okay. But a few of his friends used to come over to his house, and play dominoes almost every evening, at least 5-6 times a week. Okay. They were elders, right? And that man had a dog, but every time his friends came over, the dog will always be hollering. I'm talking about loud every single time they come over. It doesn't matter what time of the day. The dog is always hollering. You would think and it's not it's not barking like it's barking at somebody. No, it's hollering like it's in pain. Okay. So he went to to his friend, the one that owns the dog. He said, "Yo, what's wrong with your dog, man? Every time we come here, the dog is hollering like it's hurting, it's in pain." He said, "Yes, it is." He was like, "Well, why don't you fix it? I mean, why don't you help it? Like, give it some food, give it some water." He said, "No, it's not hungry. It's in pain." He's like, "What do you mean?" So he went to the dog and he lifted up the body of the dog. And the dog was actually sitting on a nail, a long nail. I'm talking about a few inches long. I'm talking about bleeding, in pain. And his friend was like, "Yo, that's cruel. Why don't you take the dog and bring it to the hospital?" He said, "Listen, I have taken this dog from this nail over a dozen times, but every time it comes back and lie on the same nail." He was like, "Yo, what you mean?" He was like, "Listen, the dog like the pain that is feeling." Moral of the story is this. I don't know if it's a true story or not, but she told it to me. All right. And it just made sense. Moral of the story. A lot of our people, it doesn't matter how much pain they are in from that nail. The nail would symbolize the situation, the system. Guess what? They will not come out of the system. You know why? Because they love the pain. They complain about it, but they love the pain. It's a tough love story to tell, but that's just what it is. You see what I'm saying? Because guess what? We do what? We were begging to become citizens of a corporation when we had our own. You see what I'm saying? It was a choice. So now we are paying for that now. You see, that pain has become so the norm. We have become immune to the pain. You see what I'm saying? To the disrespect, to the degradation, to the point where we are doing it to ourselves. Okay? Earlier on Facebook, somebody shared a video. That's why I watch the people that I request friends from. All right? Friendship from on Facebook, because if you're the type of person, all you do is look at videos that's degrading people, I'm going to delete you as a friend, number one. or I will not accept your request. Okay, but I saw a video and it was a short clip, and it was a brother, okay, punching a pale man in his face because the pale man called him the N word. Now, my thing is this. I made a comment. I was like, well, so it's okay for us to call ourselves the N word, but when another ethnic group does it, especially a pale man, okay, or a pale woman, then it becomes racism. So when you call me the N word, isn't that racism? All of a sudden, I was the one on the attack. You know, I was the one on the attack. Oh, well, it's different when we say it. When we say it's a term of endearment. What you mean it's a term of endearment? It's like a sister calling herself a female dog, but they are proud to say that's a term of endearment. You see what I'm saying? So when I tell our people, you are your biggest enemy, then you are. Because it's the energy of the word. You cannot change it. I don't want nobody to call me the N word and tell me it's a term of endearment. So to me, that's crazy. So I was attacked for that. So I say, you know what? I just made a comment and I said, listen, y'all go ahead and just dwell in y'all realm and continue to perish. And then 5 minutes later, I went and I deleted my comments. You know why? Because I didn't want the notification of constantly getting a notification and have people taking me in that low vibration. Because you know why? I'm a God. You feel me? And I'm vibrating on such a high frequency. I know how to control my space. I know how to work within my aura. You feel me? So I don't let anybody take me where I don't feel like I need to go. That means I give you the power. And I'm not going to give anybody that power over me because I'm in control. You did. But to me, it's just crazy. You know, how you could say, well, it's a term of endearment. How you figure that? How do you figure that? How do you make it that when our ancestors fought against that? Our ancestors fought against being called black. Our ancestors fought against being called African American. Okay? They even fought against wanting to be called Indians, for y'all who don't know. But it became a term that was generally accepted in the Americas because of what you would call because of treaties. Okay, it was just too many tribes, too many clans. It was too numerous. You feel me? Only in California alone, they had how many something, about 27 to 30, almost 40, 50 different tribes with over 127 dialects. So a general term was used to call us Indians, and we agreed to that. But guess what? Like I told y'all before, it wasn't the pale man who called us Indians. It was people who looked just like us. As a matter of fact, the first slavery in the Americas was the enslavement of American Indians being taken across the different continents, Africa, Europe, and Asia. But you see, they will not tell you the truth. All right? They will not tell you about 10,000 years ago, over 10,000 American Aborigines went into Nigeria to help our cousins across the seas. They will not tell you that. Okay? They will not tell you those things. So the point I'm making is you have to know the foundation of what you are being taught. Question everything. Even the things that I tell you, question it. The only difference is I could show you the facts. Even then, do your own due diligence. So that was the first set of enslavement in the Americas. Okay? And then after that, because again, it was people who came here who looked just like us, calling us brothers. And slowly but surely, they were fighting us for our food, which is our land. And trust me, we fought back. And then treaties were created, not between us and the United States. The United States was even nowhere around. Treaties was signed between us, the Portuguese, the French, the Dutch, okay, the Britons, all right? Why do you think they have the West Indian Company, the Virginia Company? That was the introduction of commerce into our land. They had to start turning everything into a commercial entity, and it started with the West Indian Company. Then you have different companies that they created. That's when we started to become a commercial entity. Eventually, the entire area, what we call the United States, became one of the biggest corporations, if not the biggest corporations in the world. So from the enslavement of the American Aborigines, the nobles decided, well, hey, you know what? Let us not enslave these American Indians. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to start getting Caucasians, not just pale people on the whole, because every so-called white person is not Caucasian. All right. So let's start getting pale people. Okay. And no disrespect. I don't know what complexion to call them. All right. So with that being said, what they did was all over Europe, all over the world, okay, people who were in jail, criminals, vagabonds, bombs, okay, they dumped them into our land. Some of them came as convicts. Some of them came as indentured servants. Some of them came as slaves. All right. But because they couldn't really stand the heat as such, that's when it was decided that they are going to get so-called black people that were not Americans, the American Aborigines. And they did not all come from Africa, okay? Because we populated the entire world. So they were enslaving their own people, those nobles. They were enslaving people who looked like them, not just their subjects they had at the time, which was a lot of pale people. So when they're telling you history, it is his story, but it's not the truth. You feel me? You have to let people know, I know your story. Why do you think there's no such thing as White History Month? Because you don't have to dig too far to know that they came here as slaves. But of course, they will use indentured servants, but no. How is that when people who look like us come here, you call it slaves, but then the people like you that came here on boats as well, you call it indentured servants? When the truth of the matter is, it was kings on the other side who went to different kings and said, hey, listen, we found this new land, all right? We want people to go work for 7 years on 7-year contracts. Can you give us some people? Those were contracts that were made, okay? Because in about 1100, in the 1100s, they had already abolished slavery. So people were working on contracts, indentured servantry. But when they came here to work on the 7-year terms, all right, King George came and said, nah, man, we enslaving everybody. You feel me? But King James came with a different concept, and that was to give American Aborigines their God. And now once you have their God, that means that their God got power over you. So what their God say, that's what you have to do. So that was another plot to take our land through their God, because their God just justified what they did. Okay? And I got to be honest, a lot of our ancestors helped out as well. We had a lot of our own people who sold out. The truth of the matter is, a lot of our people, a lot of our chiefs joined, okay? They joined with those so-called black nobles from across the seas and enslaved white people. You see what I'm saying? And they also enslaved other black people, so-called black people that came from all over the different continents, including Africa. So family, this thing is so deep and it could be so confusing. But if you just think and put the pieces together, it's a puzzle. And you literally have to take bits and pieces and put it together. even while there were wars going on within the American Aborigines, okay, and these so-called black nobles, guess what? Mulattoes in the different continents, they were fighting their fathers, which were the so-called black men, to free their white fathers. You see, it was just so much that was going on. So the history of the world is not United States history. No, put the pieces together. Look at all those different continents and countries and look at what was happening. Like I told y'all before, I've spent years researching that stuff, all right, and looking at the parallels. That's how I was able to put a lot of those things together. Hold up. So you're trying to tell me that while we were fighting these so-called black nobles in the early 1400s, in the 1400s and the early 1500s, you were telling me that at that time, mulattoes had already taken control over their fathers that had enslaved them, and they were freeing their so-called white fathers. That's how the change of nobility or the transfer of nobility took place. Because these so-called black noble men, they went and they took the pale women as their concubine. So now those children, they are the heir of royalty, which was the so-called black nobles. So now you cannot deny them the throne. Do you think King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, do you think they were so-called pale people? No, they were mixed. And they fought their own fathers, okay? And they imprisoned a lot of their fathers and sent them into the Americas as slaves. But certain deals were made. Well, they sent them as contractors, put it that way, indentured servants. So family, man, like I said, man, this is a whole lot deeper than y'all think it is, all right? The truth is literally stranger than fiction, okay? But like I said, I don't know how I went from genealogy to this, generation to this, but I like to go in the spirit and just flow, so I'm good. 57 minutes. I'm not going to go past an hour, so I think I gave you guys enough, but I love you guys, man, and that's what I do, that's why I do what I do. But always remember this before I go, okay? Everything is a choice. It's voluntary. Okay? Nobody could lawfully violate your rights. Legally they can, but not lawfully. Okay? So if you are that legal entity, all right, then you fall under the jurisdiction of that legal world, which is the legal society. If you are not part of the legal society, then they have no right to pull you as a man or a woman into that society against your will. That is called kidnapping, all right? And you could sue for that. And I promise you, you will win. So, know your rights. Rights and privileges are two different things. A privilege can be taken away. A right came from the Great Spirit. And nobody can take that away from you. Because why? You have, as a man or a woman, you have dominion over everything else. Everything that's created within that realm of physicality. You have dominion over that. So therefore, the people created governments to work for them. It is not the other way around. But you have lost your way because too many of you are too educated. You're too smart. No disrespect. Start using some wisdom. Start using your intelligence. And I promise you, the education will mean nothing because it really doesn't. And one more thing before I go. Guess what? Everything is free. It's supposed to be free, but you don't know that. You trading time for money, but not realizing what you work for is already free. You were just tricked into working for it. I'll let y'all think about that before I go, okay? I'll expound on that another time because like I said, I'll do a specific lesson just for that so you guys could learn that information. All right, so one love. We'll talk a little later. All right.